can tell the World Cup is getting serious as we've extended our ESPN FC desk. Look at this. Nedum.
Hey.
Robbo, Kieran, Craig is over there as well as we take you through another exciting day of action. The big story that we're discussing is Portugal struggling. In their opening match, they only could manage a 1-1 draw against DR Congo. It started so well for Roberto Martinez's side. João Neves with a great header to open the scoring after just 6 minutes. You expected then Portugal to kick on, but they didn't. They just kind of fell over themselves. There was no fluidity to their attack whatsoever, and DR Congo would then punish them. They would score Visa with a goal just before half-time. Second half, pretty much a non-event. Nothing much happened, and in the end, DR Congo will be delighted at a point. Portugal, very much frustrated. Whew. Craig, where'd this go wrong?
Ask the Spanish, because it seemed very much like the Spain performance to me. Promised so much and delivered very little, actually. Hardly saw anything of Bruno Fernandes. Obviously, Ronaldo up front on his own. Had a couple of half chances, nothing spectacular. I was expecting them really to take this team to task, but it was slow, it was pedestrian, it allowed DR Congo to get back in a good shape. And a bit like the Spain game, it actually became a game in the end when the Congo felt that they could possibly maybe even go and get a winner. So I think more questions than answers, or as many questions as answers for Roberto Martinez, who will be a man under a bit of pressure after that performance.
Yeah, very much so. Kieran?
I think Congo deserve all the credit, to be honest. I thought they defended to a man outstanding. I think they kept a higher line than we've seen in the World Cup games so far, because they noticed that Portugal weren't really wanting to threaten him behind, and I think they
well, they can't, can they?
They don't have the pace. Yeah, exactly. So I think that they got their game plan spot on, and I think it's been a sign of the lower teams, the African teams, the Asian teams that have performed in this World Cup so far. So, I don't think Portugal were great, but I don't think you can take anything away from Congo. I think they're going to be really happy with this performance.
Key to it was that Portugal haven't got anybody that can run in behind. And you're absolutely right. DR Congo said, OK, we're going to squeeze up. Even with a back five, we'll squeeze up high. Who's going to make the runs? Bruno Fernandes tried to make 2 runs early on, got totally frustrated because the midfield player didn't play the ball over the top. Obviously, Ronaldo didn't attempt to make 1 run in behind. He was coming short. And if you're not hitting balls in behind, you can have lots of passing in front. You're going to have a long way to go to goal. You're going to have almost the perfect goal, and that was the case. They didn't get the ball out wide enough, quickly enough, high enough up the field, and the crosses into the box weren't good enough. And Ronaldo, for someone who was meant to be so good in the air, got nowhere near one of them.
Hello, Dan. Good to see you.
No, go and sit there. I don't like it. This feels so... I don't like having my back to you. At least this way I can see everybody.
Is there any way you can keep going?
Right, great.
Welcome to ESPN FC.
That's the best change I've ever seen.
Inevitably, Ronaldo is going to be the big talking point from this, especially after we saw what Lionel Messi did yesterday. And it's going to be that conversation. Is this a guy who hinders...
I don't think
Portugal
so.
Team?
No, I don't think so. I think for me, today's discussion is more about, say, the rest of the setup that Roberto Martinez had in there. And I think you guys made a good point about, say, people not running in behind. But I think you can still force someone to do it. Just because somebody's not great with their speed doesn't mean you can't be honest and make that happen.
But who's going to make that run? Because Ronaldo's not going to make the run.
No, Ronaldo could make the run.
Fernandes did make 2 runs, but they didn't play the ball to him.
I think that's the issue. I think that's the issue, and that's the bigger point for me. Because I thought, for DR Congo, the way they played with that back five, it was very hard for Ronaldo because it was 3v1 most of the time. I think the two wing-backs for Congo did really, really well in terms of their matchups. So you have to chance it. You have to play some of those balls, force them to go back. And then when that's the case, you can get more space for the likes of Bruno Fernandes and be able to have a bit more sort of play from that side of things. But from my perspective, they just didn't do that today. So
Ronaldo's body language, when the ball's in those midfield areas, has to be on the, I'm going to do it here, on the half turn. Yeah. Somebody's going to say, go on, play it in. But he was always looking back at the player on the ball, and there's no way they were going to play it over the top. He's saying, don't play it over the top, I'm going to come short.
There's so many things that we say has changed within football across the years. But to start the game, just force them back. Just force them back. Even if there are a couple of turnovers, you at least make them think this might come, this might come. But when you become one-dimensional, you end up being in a position where DR Congo are, where they were essentially comfortable with all the defensive matchups. And as the guys have said, towards the end of the game, they look like a team that's going to score. You look at the stats that they've had from that match, it's 25% possession. it's next to nothing. But then what did Portugal do with the possession they had? And the answer is, again, next to nothing.
But they need to figure that out, because I don't think they're a side, Portugal, that are going to defend their way to success in this competition. If anything, it's going to have to be the other way. And they have the players for it. Debatable about Ronaldo with his age.
But where were the other players today? You know, as much as we talk about Cristiano Ronaldo, there was
Well, I
nothing.
look at that midfield, right? The two PSG boys, Vitinho and João Neves, brilliant. I'd in the Player of the Year in England, Bruno Fernandes, playing in his preferred role, and they should have ripped this team apart. And then, I mean that in a scenario where you think it's easy, but they should certainly have caused them a lot more problems than they did. But I think we saw, for the second time, with an elite side in Portugal, as we did with Spain, against a side that are digging in, as Cape Verde were and DR Congo were, is that if you're not at your best, and it's an early warning for Martinez, as it was for De La Fuentes, if you're not at your best, this competition could bite you in the backside. And if you're pitching up just thinking it's a matter of turning up on the field because there's 48 teams and some of them are going to be cannon fodder and it's just about the last 32, which it may be, but somebody's going to get bitten with performances like this, and Spain and Portugal, the two teams recently, have to make sure it's not them. I don't think it will be, but it's going to be an easy team talk, I think, for Roberto Martinez, maybe not a team talk for Ronaldo, but for the rest of them, about how this standard is not enough.
One of the reasons, and we always talking about it, Bruno Fernandes not getting involved in the game. Why isn't he getting involved in the game? Because there was no space for him. Because they were squeezed up and nobody was willing to run in behind. The midfield players are there. The midfield players of DR Congo are only 10 yards in front of the back players. He can't get the ball. There's no space for him to get the ball. So that's why they've got, as you just said, they've got to play balls over the top. People have got to run in behind. Even if somebody makes a run and they run offside, at least the defence will think, oh, hang on, we might have to be just that little bit deeper.
I know he's not the most consistent player, and I know it's not a natural position for him, and Gonzalo Ramos is the natural striker. But surely somebody with the talent set and skill levels and experience of Rafael Leao could offer you that player with the physicality and that ability from a central role, which I know it doesn't usually do, to run in behind. Because they need to have that option. But again, we're having very early on in this competition this Ronaldo discussion. And it's not right. He didn't lose because of him today, but or draw because of him today. But it's certainly a position where it's stale, isn't it? And it feels like teams are not frightened to squeeze that because they know there's a lack of threat of running in behind.
But Craig, also, this is what I'm saying. I think there's a bigger story going on here, and it's the fact that these Asian and African teams that have come into the competition,
they should be better. Spain, no,
but the gap is not what it used to be, and they're not. They didn't look inferior at all today.
If you saw Spain at full tilt, you would have seen that gap in their match. Spain, that is, not Portugal.
Against Cape Verde.
But we didn't. And so that enabled that gap to be...
But then you look at the second half that France put in against Senegal. First half was kind of similar. Senegal with a better team in that first half. They got together and they were brilliant in that second period. And I think maybe we were expecting that a little bit today from Portugal after that flat opening 45 minutes. And what would concern me from a Portugal view is that we saw nothing. We saw no spark, no response, no change of gears. And going forward, how much is this a kick up the backside for Roberto Martinez's side? And how much is it a sign of things to come?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is going to be his relationship with Cristiano Ronaldo and how he manages that.
But what does that mean? What does that mean? Like,
I mean, I think we know the answer.
Well,
are we pandering here?
How useful was he today? You know, and so what is he going to do with him? What is he going to do next game now? And then how is he going to react? And will that affect the whole team? These are going to be the decisions that are going to define Portugal's campaign.
Ancelotti made a decision after 20 minutes in the Brazil game. I've had enough of what I've seen. I'm changing it here to rectify it. Didier Deschamps, half-time, said, I've had enough of this. I'm not going to let you dictate to where you want to go.
Exactly.
I'm going to make you play here, 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 and you're going to play in the number 10 spot. Now, the manager, Martinez, has got to do something and he didn't do anything throughout the game. He brought a wide player on, Leao, who's got pace, but he played out wide, so he couldn't really break the lines. He didn't do enough to change the game. And that's, as a coach, you have to change the game. And the game was going away from them because DR Congo started to get better and better and better.
See, the issue I have is Portugal will probably get through like most of the good teams. But you don't get those opportunities in the knockout stage to go back and say, well, I should have done that. And that's where you have to iron these issues out, because when it gets to the better sides and you have some passengers on the side, and listen, the last couple of World Cups would tell you Ronaldo was a passenger, then that's when you have to make these big decisions. If you haven't already made them, you'll get away with it probably in the group stage, but maybe not in the knockout.
Yeah, I think my concern from this game today, which makes it feel a bit different to the Spain game, a bit different to like the Switzerland game when they drew with Qatar as well, is when you look at the stats, the only thing that Portugal were leading in was possession. They end up having fewer shots on target, and even the expected goals is worse than Congo. So Congo by itself is probably the team that deserves to win something from this game. I think Spain in their game, their XG was like 2.2 or something. So on a different day, they're maybe scoring 3 or 4 goals, for example. But today for Portugal, there was no change-up, there was no injection of speed, no injection of intensity, which is what I thought France did really well the other day. Because in that second half, they were a lot more dynamic. You were seeing
Where does it come from? The players, or does it come from the manager changing
I think it comes from both. I think both things can be true. I generally think both things can be true, because if we're all going to be sort of respectful here, did we always need a manager to tell us what to do for us to become better? Or there are times when we had a sense of personal pride and we're trying to solve problems ourselves?
But if players like Ronaldo don't want to make runs in behind because it doesn't suit his game, at some point somebody else is going to have to tell him, and it's going to the manager, or you say, off you come, Ramos, go on, and I want you to run in behind.
Yeah, for me, it's concerning this game compared to the other ones, because from a field perspective, those are very, very good players, and they were out there essentially being on the back foot to a DR Congo side that not many people fancy at all, and that's a concern.
I still think we're taking a lot away from Congo. They brought on Rafael Leao. He came on. He tried to take on his fullback. He couldn't get any joy. I think we're not giving them enough credit, to be honest.
I hold my hands up. I hold my hands up. It's because they knocked out Nigeria, so that's my bias against them. So.
Some of these teams that come in through AFCON, they are, a lot of people won't see them as regular, but they are very strong. And when you're organised and strong and you've got a bit of pace and talent up front, you're always going to be a threat. Two things can be true. You might not be giving them enough credit, and there's no doubt with Portugal. I mean, that was an extremely weak performance with the stand. Even if you went to their bench, Portugal, you looked at the bench and you thought, my God, there's 8 or 9 there you could probably put in that side, and it wouldn't have a huge dent in it. So he's got a big squad, Roberto Martinez, a deep squad of talented players, but he's match day 1 for him done, and he's already got some problems to deal with.